And we're back. 4:59 is the time, and our top story at this hour. Senator Edward Kennedy has died. And there you see him from the inauguration earlier this year. He was 77 years old. The Kennedy family says it has lost now the irreplaceable Kennedy emerged from the shadows of big brothers John and Robert, becoming one of the preeminent politicians of the last half century. He was often dubbed the Lion of the Senate and championed a number of causes, including health care, civil rights, education. In fact, universal health care was one of his big causes, and his family says he lamented the fact that he was absent from the Senate during all the health care reform debate that we've been seeing here in recent. Sandra Endo in Washington now reporting on reaction to the loss of an American hero.
Here in the nation's capital, flags are flying at half-staff, and there has been an outpouring of condolences from across the country and around the globe, all remembering the patriarch of the Kennedy clan. Not many little brothers turn into father figures for powerful families, but Edward Ted Kennedy was not the typical youngest of 9 children. He was only 31 when his big brother, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated, but he was already a year into his first term as a U.S. Senator. He eventually became one of only 6 senators to serve more than 40 years. Kennedy was lionized by many Democrats, who saw him as the champion of their ideals.
The reason that he's accomplished more than any of the others who were there. The reason that he has been able to help deliver voting rights and immigration rights and helped people who are vulnerable is because he fights.
He was equally demonized by many conservatives, but despite his predominantly liberal voting record, Kennedy often reached out to Republicans to compromise. Even 4 decades in, Kennedy's passion and powers of persuasion impressed ideological opposites.
He remains the single most effective member of the Senate.
For many years, however, it seemed as though Kennedy's allegedly wild conduct would overshadow any legislative accomplishments. In 1969, he drove off a bridge, and a young female aide named Mary Jo Kopechne drowned. Kennedy received a suspended sentence for leaving the scene of an accident.
I regard as indefensible the fact that I did not report the accident to the police immediately.
In 1980, Kennedy took on a vulnerable President Jimmy Carter for the Democratic nomination. He lost and focused his energies on the Senate for the next 3 decades. Kennedy suffered a seizure at his family's Cape Cod compound in May of 2008. An MRI revealed it was caused by the brain tumor that eventually killed him. The so-called Lion of the Senate spent the last few months of his life with family in Hyannisport. That's actually where nearby vacationing President Obama is expected to make a statement in the next half hour. Live in Washington, I'm Sandra Endo. Back to you.
Meanwhile, California Governor Schwarzenegger issued the following statement regarding the death of Senator Kennedy. Maria and I are immensely saddened by the passing of Uncle Teddy. He was known to the world as the Lion of the Senate, a champion of social justice, and a political icon. And we also have a statement this morning from President Barack Obama on the death of Senator Kennedy. An important chapter, he says, in our history has come to an end. Our country has lost a great leader who picked up the torch of his fallen brothers and became the greatest United States senator of our time. And as Sandra said, we should hear live comments from the president coming up sometime in the next half hour. We'll bring those to you live when they happen. We also have some live pictures to show you as well. On the left-hand side, flags at half-staff there at the U.S. Capitol, obviously in honor of Senator Kennedy. And on the right-hand side, live pictures out of Hyannisport, outside of the Kennedy home there in Massachusetts. We're waiting possibly for some reaction from the family this morning. We're not sure if they'll step out in front of cameras to make a statement, but we're monitoring the situation, and if anybody does come out to make some comments this morning, we'll bring that to you live if we can. So that one of the stories we're following this morning. The other one is still that developing story coming out of San Mateo County this morning, the city of San Mateo, where KRON 4's Jackie Sissel is standing by live outside of Hillsdale High School with the latest on what's happening there in the wake of Monday's pipe bomb attack. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning, James. Yeah, I am at Hillsdale High School this morning, where students are expected back later this morning. In fact, school starts around 7:45, and at that point, the 1,200 or so students that attend Hillsdale High will be allowed back on campus, and at that point they'll be able to start retrieving their personal belongings. Classes are going to start around 7:55 this morning, and presumably they'll go on as normal, obviously as normal as it can be after the attacks on Monday morning. In addition to that, they're also going to continue to have the counselors and psychologists at the adult school down the street, just in case staff and students still need to talk this out. It probably won't be a normal day in a lot of ways here at Hillsdale High, but it will be the first day that they're back to school since the attack on Monday.
All right, Jackie, thank you very much. And at 5:05, San Mateo's DA's office, incidentally, is expected to announce whether to try that 17-year-old suspect. Alex Ushak is his name. They'll decide whether or not to try him as an adult. If tried and convicted as an adult, he could face the rest of his life in prison. And we're also learning more about the motives and intentions of the suspect, who is now under arrest for Monday's pipe bomb attack at Hillsdale High School. Take a listen.
It is painfully clear to us that the suspect's sole intent was to kill, injure, or commit mayhem to as many students and school faculty, staff, and administration as possible. And in fact, he did have intended targets as well. We believe in part the motive was some type of a self-construed revenge for acts that may have been real or perceived on the part of the suspect. As you know, often they embellish these types of perceived wrongs. And so I can't speak to specifically what was in his mind, but he clearly was out to demonstrate that he could get back at a school and a community and its administration. For these school staff to have taken on the heroic intervention efforts that they did is nothing short of spectacular, and I think we all have to be thankful that their quick efforts in no doubt stopped what may have been mass casualties.
And here, of course, video from Monday of Alex Ushak being arrested by police. Officers say the suspect had been planning that attack in brutal detail for months, and his motive was similar to others who've carried out violence at schools as well. Obviously, we'll be looking to learn more, and as we do, we will let you know. This is one of the developing stories we'll be following for quite some time. At 5:06, let's get an update on the commute this morning. George Rass standing by in the traffic center right now with a look at that. Good morning, George.
Good morning, James. We're tracking a new report of an accident that just occurred in Concord at this early hour. The time is now 5:09. Time for a check of weather. Here's Drew Harmon.
Thank you, George. Taking a look at a mild start for this morning as we start to see temperatures warm up later on today, heading towards Friday. A quick shot around the bay and more of that warming trend in our next report. James?
All right, Drew, thank you much. And another update for you this morning. Some new details on that potential BART strike. Looks like it won't happen after all. Late last night, members of the ATU union voted to approve a new 4-year contract with BART management. 80% of the union members there approved that contract, and union officials say this was not, though, an easy vote by any means. They claim the cuts to their pay were not fair, but they felt forced to vote yes for this contract. ATU represents about 900 BART train operators, station agents, and power workers. So no BART strike. No BART strike. All right, 5:10 is the time. We're going to take another break here. When we come back, the latest on our top story this morning, of course, the death of U.S. Senator Ted Kennedy. We've got live pictures to show you this morning out of his home in Washington, D.C., the front door there to his home. We've got cameras here. We've got cameras at their home in Hyannisport, Massachusetts. We also have live pictures from the U.S. Capitol, waiting at some point for folks to come out to the cameras here, family members, fellow senators, fellow lawmakers, to speak and react to the news of his passing late last night. We'll have much more on this story coming up on the other side of this break. Stay with us. And we're also following the latest out of the East Bay, too. The search for 5-year-old Hassani Campbell, now 2 weeks and growing. The latest on the reward and its increase coming up in a minute.